Parents are taking on huge housing risks. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee. I want to have a look at this article from realestate.com.au, which is discussing just the bank of mum and dad. You know, Australian house prices, reliance on the bank of mum and dad is rising, but can they afford a rate hike? Now, there's some contention on the actual demand for the bank of mum and dad. In this article here from Mortgage Business, the productivity, this is from the 8th of December, the Productivity Commission has insisted there is no strong evidence of parents giving large bumps to their children's property purchases. And we have here, parents can help their children enter the housing market via loans or gifts, acting as a formal guarantor on a mortgage application to avoid lender's mortgage insurance, or providing rent-free housing to boost savings, in addition to leaving an inheritance. The Productivity Commission noted private sector surveys by comparison websites, consultants, and mortgage providers resulted in small sample-based estimates of total lending from parents of around 35 to 92 billion. And they were estimated to be the fifth and ninth largest lender. But if we go down here, but the Commission stated that it could not find strong evidence of large transfers from the bank of mum and dad, gifts or guarantees from parents that help their children buy a house, despite popular belief. There's no evidence of it. So are the survey samples too small? I would argue that rent-free housing is the way to go. That's what you do. You feed your kids when they're older. You let them live there for free. You put up with each other. It's a bit harder when you're an adult. But then, it comes back later. We've got our parents living with us now when they're older enough. My mother even did a stint with us. So, despite inheritances and gifts more than doubling since 2002 and being projected to rise fourfold between now and 2050, the median gift parents gave to their children of all ages was found to be around $1,000, everyone. In 1819, the total value of gifts from parents to children was around 12 billion. With the number of recipients increasing from around 750,000 people in 2001 to 1.5 million in 2018-2019. The average recipients for gifts were around 20 years of age, the beginning of their career, yet to start a family or home purchase, and they tended to receive around $8,000. And if we have a look here, on average, mortgages with parental guarantees accounted for around 2.5%. Total settled loans at CBA and 4.6% for Westpac since 2016. This isn't as big as people are making out. Okay, with that in mind, let's have a look at realestate.com.au, where this data is coming from. Parents are using the roof over their own heads to secure a spot on the property ladder for their desperate children amid soaring house prices. I mean, I was talking to other people I know where the parents are... I mean, here's the thing. If parents have the money to do it and they're not going to risk their home over their head, I mean, let them do it. If they want to, they can. They're adults. They should be allowed. There's nothing wrong with it. If you don't happen to have parents that aren't in that position, that's just how life is. It's unfair, guys. And, I mean, if parents have made a whole lot of money by being genius property investors, buying at the right time and getting lucky, I mean, is it that big a deal if they're paid forward? What we need to remember, I think one of the cultures we need to adopt, because this is the thing, Australia is meant to be a multicultural melting pot. We're meant to get the best parts of every culture, stick it all together, and get a superior culture out of it. It's meant to evolve. We need to look at the intergenerational wealth that a lot of the Asian cultures have. Maybe that's something we need to adopt in a wider Australian culture. So, more than 150,000 Australian mortgage holders drew down on their home loans over the past 12 months to financially support their adult kids' path to home ownership, according to new research from the digital mortgage broker True Savings. Okay, so it's a mortgage broker firm again. The report's findings demonstrated that the bank of mum and dad is a serious financial fallback for thousands of younger Australians, counter to the Property Commission. In early 2020, even prior to the pandemic, propelled property boom, research from mozo.com.au declared the bank of mum and dad already held the title of the fifth biggest home lender in the country behind Australia's big four banks. Now, here's the thing. Okay, say you're well ahead on your mortgage, you're paid on your mortgage, and we see a lot of people have that, you know. And if you take 20 grand out of that to give to your kid, and you can perfectly manage that, that's not an issue. If interest rates goes up, that's not going to be a problem for the parent. If you gift money to someone, that's much better than being a guarantor or taking on the responsibility of the loan. If you're going to do that, you might as well buy the property as investment, then negative gear it. But anyway, parents reportedly lent an average of $73,522, or collectively $92 billion. And the Productivity Commission here is telling us, what, 8 grand gifts? Guys, and here we're seeing 72,000, okay, which is 73,000, which is right. The trend is continuing to grow along with property values. In 12 months of booming real estate prices across the country, the national median dwelling value jumped 22.2% to $698,000. However, couple that with an increasing loan serviceability buffer, making borrowing just a little bit harder, plus declining affordability for many first-home buyers, and families are more financially frustrated than ever. Well, this is the thing. You can't live where your parents live. You're not going to be able to live in the same suburb now in Sydney when your parents did for the same money, because the city has grown, the land is more valuable. The utility and services have increased in value. That's all normal. That's what happens. Okay? It's supply and demand. What you want to do, you know, maybe support your parents to keep that house or that land so it can be passed down to a future generation. Pete Steele, founder and CEO of True Savings, said the bank of mum and dad had become a force to be reckoned with. I'm sure the number of parents helping the children is much greater than what our research shows if you add in all those giving pure savings or going guarantor as well, he said. Not according to the Productivity Commission. How do you address that? It's really surprising how many people are taking equity out of their own family home to kickstart their kids' lives. Is it? Why? I've got no issue with that at all. Think about it. What have you done to earn the equity? Nothing. Honestly, you bought it at the right time. The value of the property grew. Okay, fantastic. And why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you want to help your children? You want maybe these people want grandkids. You know, maybe that's why. Honey, take 100 grand off the house. I want the bloody grandkids. But you can understand why. It's a very tough environment for home buyers, particularly younger people at the moment. I think this increase of financial help is a reaction to the really intense property market and the fact that getting a deposit together is accelerating away from wage growth. It's getting harder. The gap is getting bigger, so mum and dad are stepping in. Well, deposits are the hardest part. Because, once you have a house, once you're living in a house, even if you have a mortgage, you can save a lot of extra money. You know, there's ways to save money. What's this? These are the suburbs where mum and dad has refinanced. That doesn't tell us anything, okay? That does not tell us. Let's ignore that. This is just people, bank of mum and dad. These are people taking advantage of the reduction in mortgage rates to save money. On the flip side, Mr. Steele said this kind of family handout is simply an alternative to more traditional generational wealth transfers. Taking some money out of the family home to let the next generation get a better start, rather than waiting till they move out of their home, isn't necessarily a bad thing. Although it's obviously difficult for those young people who don't have a bank of mum and dad to rely on. Zalia Zabel, 26, bought her first property recently with her parents' help and admits without the assistance, she might still be waiting. I don't think I would have been able to do it without them putting up the money. I would have probably had to wait a couple of years or even longer. Mr. Bell said she had saved a modest deposit but struck her hometown of Sydney off her buyer's wish list given the elevated property prices. Instead, she settled on a 2-bedroom apartment in Melbourne's East Brunswick. Is she living in it or is it an investment? You know, what's going on? Melbourne hasn't seen the same boom as Sydney. I did some research and felt confident it was a good place to buy. Luckily, even though the lockdowns, I managed to keep... It's an investment property. That's not... what are we talking... This isn't someone starting a family. This is someone buying an investment property. This is like your parents giving you money to buy shares. Okay, cool. Good on her. Good on her. Although she has had a 10% deposit saved, she didn't meet the lender's 20% requirements, so had to have a discussion with her parents about what strategy would work for everyone, including her other siblings, who would equally get a financial leg up. Whatever they would help me out with, we decided they would help them out with as well. That's why they didn't give me a lump sum. I paid the deposit and didn't actually borrow any cash from them. She said in order for her to avoid paying lender's mortgage insurance to cover the extra 10% and meet the needs of a 20% deposit, her parents used their home and went guarantor on a new loan. While the monetary assistance from the bank of mum and dad usually comes from the right place, Mr. Steele said everyone involved should proceed with caution. I mean, they should have just bought it together, the daughter and the parents, then, if it's an investment property. Set up a family trust, put it all together, start building it up. But you guess you want to keep it separate. Going guarantor is definitely not without its risks. Our experts talk customers through this because you're essentially putting your family home on the line. I'd say going guarantor is actually higher risk in some ways than drawing down the equity. Yes, I agree. Because you don't just stand to potentially lose your deposit you're giving the children as a bank of mum and dad, but you're putting your family home at risk, he explains. We want to ensure that if Aussies are looking to support children by drawing down on equity on their home, they're doing this with an innate understanding of what that means for them in regards to repayments, retirement, and setting themselves up for success in the future. We also want them to consider interest rate rises and ensure that all family members will be able to support the ongoing repayments of the home loan. So there we go, the bank of mum and dad stepping up. One example of a lovely young lady buying an investment property. What do you reckon, guys? Let's have a talk about this one. I suspect this is blowing the actual impact of the bank of mum and dad out of the water with regards to handing over cash or going guarantor, but people need to be aware of the risk, so it's probably good that this is getting the attention that it is. I mean, realestate.com.au probably want to encourage the bank of mum and dad to go guarantor and do whatever they can to get their kids into property to keep it all going, but you've just got to be aware of the risk that you're taking on. I mean, if you're risking your whole house to help your kid buy an investment house, not a forever house, not a house to live in, why don't you just buy it in partnership as a joint investment? I don't get it. And then you can share the rewards of it. You can take the risk together. The parents could put up half the deposit, the kids could put up half the deposit, and they could rent the whole thing out. And then boom, straight down the middle. The kid will get it all anyway if the parents die. And then the child will have someone to support with the mortgage payments if something goes wrong. And the parents will have an investment that they can use, that their daughter may be able to buy the rest off them when they want to retire. That makes more sense to me than this. But anyway, I think they're blown it out of proportion. What do you think, guys? Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one in the comments down below. And I'm going to link to that article about the bank of mum and dad being blown out of proportion. Check out that video if you haven't seen it yet. Take care, everyone. Have a great day, and I will see you all in the next episode of Heise Says. Bye for now.